if you're struggling from overthinking or anxiety or anything that is like kind of the mind, just take the next 5 minutes to watch this video because I'm going to explain to you a concept I've been working on with my one-on-one clients. This is kind of like a concept I've had for a long time, but recently I kind of put it into like this 4-word model that I really think helps people kind of have like a 1, 2, 3, 4 process for making a shift. Here's the thing. Most people are going throughout life unconsciously. Their thoughts are running the show. Your thoughts are creating your reality. The real question is, well, what's creating your thoughts? And this process is going to help you understand where those thoughts are coming from so that you can begin to observe them and change them. And so it goes like this. The step 1 is we want to spot. So we have a reoccurring theme about thoughts. So for example, let's just use money. If you are always struggling with money, your mind will spew thought after thought after thought at you about not having enough money, or you can't afford this, or how are you ever going to pay for this? Bills, all this stuff will always be on your mind. It is like literally endless, thousands and thousands of thoughts a day around the issue of money. What you want to do in step 1 is you want to spot any thought about money. So anytime you catch the thought about money, you just want to make the awareness, oh, I'm having a thought about money. Okay. So that's step 1, spot. The second thing is you want to connect it. You want to connect that thought to a belief system and an emotion. So with money, we might have the belief that there's not enough money to go around. Money's scarce. And so every time we believe the belief that money is scarce, we are going to spew thought after thought about the scarcity of money. And then what you hold in mind tends to manifest. So meaning if you're having a bunch of thoughts about not having enough money is going to be exactly what continues to show up in your life. So after we spot, we connect it to a belief system. Once we see that belief system, we then connect that belief system to an emotion. So for me, with respect to money, the emotion was the pain of not having enough, the pain of being less than. And so once I recognized that all of my money-making thoughts or the thoughts of not having enough were related to not having enough, I could then recognize that I'm okay in the pain of not having enough. I can face the pain of not having enough. Once I made that connection to not having enough, the thoughts immediately from that point begin to slow down. And then the third step is we can shift the thoughts and the beliefs and the emotion, and we can basically essentially recontextualize those to a new thought. So for example, if we make the link of a thought about, I can't afford this, we link that to the belief system that money is scarce and to the emotion that I'm going to feel pain of not having enough, we can then recontextualize or shift that thought and that belief to money is abundant. I'm okay in the pain of not having enough. I can handle it. And finally, the last step is to actually release or let go of the emotion that is associated with all of these thoughts. Now, if you just do 1, 2, and 3, you're going to experience immediate relief. And in fact, if you just do step 1, where you begin catching thoughts and you just start to notice the thoughts that you're having around money, for example, or love or abundance or whatever that may be, if you just start catching them, you're going to start taking back power from them. But if you go through step 2 and 3, you're really beginning to move out of this place of the mind running the show to you running the show. When I say you, I'm talking about the higher self, your consciousness. This is when we are able to observe the mind. And we start observing the mind, we can start making changes in the mind. And the last part is the letting go or the release, which is essentially having the courage to look at the pain that your mind has been protecting you from in the form of endless thoughts throughout your whole entire life. So for me, it was the shame of not having enough, the embarrassment of driving shitty cars and not having nice clothes. All of that pain was the pain that my mind was protecting me from feeling. When I finally allowed myself to go to the pain, the big thing that I recognized was that that pain was not that intense. It wasn't as powerful as I had been working so hard to avoid feeling. It's like, for example, if I told you to go and swim across a mile-long lake and the lake was 100 feet deep, and you didn't think, or maybe let's do 10 miles, and you didn't think you could swim across that 10-mile lake, you would do everything in your power to not jump in that water. You would avoid it at all costs. You would make up excuses. You would protect yourself with everything that you had to make sure you didn't have to go through that pain or that swim ever again. But once you finally got pushed to a point where you're like, I have to jump in the water, I have to swim across the lake, I have to deal with this because my mind won't shut up about it, right? I can't live. The protection that the mind created has become more suffering than actually dealing with the pain that you're avoiding. So you finally make the decision, you're like, I'm just going to swim across the lake. I'm just going to deal with this. You have the courage to jump in. Then you recognize that the lake is only 1 inch deep, right? And so that pain that you've been avoiding your whole entire life, you can walk right through it. And this is what happens when we finally have the ability to observe our thoughts, link it or connect it to a belief system and emotion, have the courage to release it. And then we can also recontextualize it in that moment. These are the steps: spot, connect, shift, and release. If you can do that, you're taking back the power from the mind and you're ahead of about 95% of the population.